Hey, welcome back in ClearPath Retirement Radio. I am Stewart Smith. I'm here with Mitch Davies, and today we are talking about how investments need to be different in retirement than when you are growing your assets in what we call the accumulation years, and how your mindset and your focus needs to change from that pure growth mindset to more of a preservation and tax efficiency mindset as you go into that retirement phase of life. And, you know, investing in retirement is a very, very different animal. And so we've talked about the strategy that we use, which is not to go into retirement with one big portfolio, but to address different time segments and time horizons of retirement with different portfolios of money that are allocated differently and make more sense, you know, statistically speaking, to help you to achieve the type of returns that you need to hedge inflation and not to erode principal, and make sure that your money lasts throughout a 20, 30 plus year retirement, and make sure that you don't have anxiety and stress as you go through this, you know, what should be the golden years of your life, and you should be enjoying yourself and relaxing after all those hard years of work that you put in to get there. The last thing you want to do is be in retirement and be stressing about the markets. So one of the ways we've talked about addressing that, again, is to have the first 5 years of income that you're going to need in a portfolio that is extremely conservative, that's going to earn the best return possible while taking very, very little risk, something that's not going to move and fluctuate a lot in a volatile market. And then the years 5 through 10 of retirement, have that money in a different portfolio that you're not going to need to touch for 5 years. And let's get a little more moderate. Let's take a little risk on that one.
Yep, and it doesn't have to, you don't have to go full aggressive on this. It doesn't have to be, hyper growth stocks, but let's start to get a little bit more aggressive. Let's start to have some exposure to, because we've got that first bucket protected. We know for the next 5 years we're fine, and we have that 10-year golden window where we know historically that we're going to see some type of growth. So this next 5 to 10 years, it's not our most aggressive, but it's that second bucket, that moderate bucket we get to really lean on after.
Yeah, and we typically like, your consumer staples, yep, and your defensive stocks, yeah, and energy stocks and things of that nature for that type of investment. And, it's just going to, again, this just makes sense. It's very strategic. If you have, I've got 5 years of income, it's stable, it's not going to move much, and it gives you the confidence and the stability to know you're getting through that time. And if you're the second portfolio, that's the 5 to 10 year money, if that's fluctuating a little more, it's not making you very nervous. It's not playing those psychological games with you that we see so often people react to and make poor decisions to. And then with money that you're not going to need for 10 years, let's go ahead and do that into a third portfolio. And let's get even a little more aggressive on that.
Yeah.
That's where, if you want exposure to those tech stocks, if you want exposure to the things that are going to correlate with a lot more risk, then that's where you want to do it. Because if we look historically at the markets, we understand that those riskier investments, given a 10-year time horizon, have always produced pretty good results.
Right.
Even though they may fluctuate up and down a lot, that if you do have 10 years to wait on that, then you're typically going to come out better with those riskier type investments with a 10-year time horizon. So it's very, very strategic how you need to understand how to invest once you get to retirement. And, like we said before, if you're deploying, Roth conversion strategies, then a lot of times in that second and third portfolio, you can be converting that stuff over that time horizon as well. And maybe if you're really smart and really strategic, you can have all of the IRA money you're not going to need for income in that first 5 years converted to Roth before you even get to that second bucket,
right,
which would even be more advantageous to you in retirement. And, these are the type of strategies. And, again, the portfolios that we offer you at ClearPath Retirement are portfolios that are not designed for folks who are in that accumulation phase and growing assets and making contributions. They are portfolios that are designed for tax efficiency for retirement, people who are in retirement. So, they're going to we have a team that actively manages those portfolios. So in volatile times, even the more aggressive and risk-on type portfolios that we offer are going to, they're going to be smart about how they're allocating those things, and they're going to, maybe not have you in, some of these AI speculative type situations. They're going to be more in the energy and the things that people, in volatile times that tend to shine and do well. Just having an active portfolio where it's being traded according to what the markets are doing can be a huge difference maker, as opposed to those folks that we've seen that come in that are managing their own portfolios, and they're more in these, passive type funds that if the market does start to correct, there's nobody really actively managing that fund through that time. And so they're kind of left at the mercy of whatever, the market's going to do. And then on top of that, they're scared to make changes to it because they're scared they're going to get out at a low and miss the recovery. And so they're playing that timing game, which you never want to play in retirement. And so, having, again, actively managed portfolios that are strategically invested along different time horizons with different risk involved with each portfolio is how you want to do it in retirement.
Absolutely, Stewart. And, the active management there is so key. And even looking at that third bucket. So we've got the first 10 years covered. Looking at that third bucket, it's going to be very different to have an active managed portfolio that's aggressive than just buying a few tech stocks and seeing what happens. Our team, even in our aggressive portfolios, like Stewart mentioned, is going to be constantly rotating, looking for, what's going to react the best to this environment that we're in. But it's so important to have some kind of exposure to that third bucket, because what we've seen historically, again, first of all, is the 10-year time horizon has proved to be successful. What we've also seen, especially in the last 25 years, is a large amount of the growth, if you look at an average return, a large amount of the growth comes from a small amount of the stocks. We've seen a few companies of the overall market carry a lot of the weight. So a huge mistake people will make is without a time horizon investing strategy, they'll just have everything kind of conservative, and they don't have any access to the big home run hitters. Now, you don't want to have all your money in the home run hitters, but knowing that the next 10 years of retirement are covered gives you flexibility to reach out into that third bucket, which is so key. If we look at the last 10 years, we've had what we call the Magnificent Seven, which are 7 companies that have drastically outperformed the other 493 in the S&P 500. And if you took out those 7 companies, and these are the biggest companies you guys can think of, NVIDIA, Tesla, Google, Amazon, if you took those companies out of the S&P 500, the return is almost half of what it is with them. And that's 7 companies in a 500 company index. So what that tells us is we need to have exposure to whatever the hottest market is at that time. And that's constantly going to change. And it's not going to always be AI chips. There's going to be something different. But having an active team that can have you in an aggressive bucket to have exposure to these types of things with a small amount of money. It doesn't have to be everything. We've got the 2 buckets that are covering our bases. But having exposure to that in an active professional way is huge to really offset inflation and see the types of returns that allow us to do more.
Absolutely. Yeah, research shows that a 30 to 40% market drop in the years 1 through 3 of a retirement can cut a portfolio's lifespan nearly in half, even if the markets fully recover afterward. So just to kind of recap here, over a 30-year period, the math works like this. Bucket 1 sacrifices some return to bayou stability. Bucket 2 earns moderate returns to keep the system funded. And Bucket 3 earns growth level returns on the largest share of your assets for the longest period of time. The blended result is a portfolio that behaves more consistently and produces a higher average return than a static allocation ever could. If you are interested in seeing what this looks like in your portfolio and having us, really show you and model out and do a portfolio comparison between what you're doing now and how we would do things, and you think there's value in that, then please come see my team, ClearPathRetirement.com. Get started today. Let us know, get on our calendar, let's just sit down, let's have a 15-minute conversation about, where we can add value and how we see things coming from a retirement planning perspective and not an accumulation perspective. Because again, we say it all the time, retirement planning is a very, very different skill set than accumulation planning. And that's where we really bring value to the table for our clients. I can't tell you the hundreds of clients I've dealt with over the last 25 years who I know for a fact have lived much fuller, richer retirements because of the planning and work that we've done for them. If you're interested in that type of planning, ClearPathRetirement.com. Let's have a conversation and let's get you headed in the right direction.